Hey there folks, this is GreenyXI welcoming you right back to Let's Play Umineko. This is episode 130. In the last episode, our midget Angie, she was questioning whether witches exist and things, but Beto showed her a magic trick just in the same way as she showed Maria in a previous arc. I think was it 6th or 7th arc? Well, either way. Yeah, it was the same sort of thing, and they're both little girls, and if it has that sort of duology sort of element to it with Angie and Maria right now, I think. So, let's keep going. The VIP room was filled with a sweet smell of pumpkin tea and packed with smiles and laughter. Ha! Simply splendid. I'm glad to see you in such high spirits. I could say the same for you. What idiot said you're reaching your last years? I just borrow a bit of cheer from you. Once I return to my study, I'll be little more than a withering, senile old man. Enough with your lies. Give it up and swear that you'll be living at large until you're 100. Same here. I haven't seen you for 6 years, but I was surprised to see how little you changed. Ah, you little brat. So, it seems you've learned flattery during these past 6 years. Sorry to disappoint you, but you're hardly a fair judge in the matter. I've grown quite old indeed. I'll bet 1,000 yen that Kinzo's still doing great when he turns 100. Yeah, me too. Grandfather won't be any different when he's 100. Don't think you'll get any more presents for complimenting me. Kinzo laughed cheerily. Beto, who sat next to Battler, was also laughing merrily. Angie stood all alone by the window, staring at the others and trying to figure out what sort of relationship the witch of the portrait and her grandfather had. There was a knock on the door. Is that you, Genji? Come in. Pardon the intrusion. Kraus-sama and Natsui-sama are here. Father, oh, and Battler-kun's here too. It's been some time, Beatrice-san. Has there been any news? I'm just the way I used to be. Come on, have a seat. And Angie, why are you standing by the window like that? Come over here and sit down. Angie, come over here. I'll just watch from here. Angie grasped the candy she had gotten from Beto tightly, and with a gaze that was still wary, she continued to stare. Genji offered her a chair, but Angie just shook her head. So she's still ain't completely sold on it all, is she? On what's going on in this arc. Let her do as she pleases. Come, Kraus, Natsui, and have a seat as well. Is it something important? I guess Angie and I should leave. Hey, if you leave, who's going to back me up here? Kinzo, you don't mind if Battler stays, do you? I have nothing to hide. I care not. However, he had called Kraus and Natsui to the VIP room to meet Beatrice, the Golden Witch. It was hard to imagine that Kinzo wanted to have a casual conversation. After Kinzo said he didn't mind, Beto also asked Battler to stay, so he decided to do so. In order to avoid getting in the way of their conversation, Battler stood up from the sofa and walked over to Angie's window. When the big brother finally came back to Angie, she clung to his waist, and though determined not to let him go away again. As though. Oh, I see. That must be why Angie doesn't like me. Huh? What do you mean? Angie doesn't dislike you, does she? You really don't understand women, Battler. Beto smiled at Angie, but the latter turned to look the other way. Even a young woman is a woman nonetheless. When Beto stopped laughing, the conversation switched gears. Why on earth did Kinzo summon Kraus and Natsui to the VIP room, and what was he going to talk about? Everyone fell automatically silent. Here we go, what's the conversation? Golden Witch Beatrice. Each and every day I remember the debt the Ushiromiya family owes from when it was saved from the brink of destruction. Yeah, you better thank me. Well, it's actually your grandmother he's thanking. Shut up, you. No, it comes to the same thing. All that gold has been lent to the Ushiromiya family for 3 generations, and without cost. I truly cannot be grateful enough. Gold bars are the same as bricks to me. I had nowhere else to put them, so it was a relief to have Kinzo hold on to them. Wow. I'd like to say that just once before I die. Is the Golden Witch a rich person? Yeah. After all, she just went and lent Grandfather 10 tons of gold. Precisely. I've been borrowing it for several decades, always promising to return it someday. It's a debt I will never be able to fully repay. The Head family has never forgotten its gratitude. Isn't that right, dear? Of course, if the Beatrices hadn't kindly lent it to us for 3 generations, the Ashramaya family would have fallen long ago. Even someone as shrewd as father couldn't have done anything without funds to start with. By now, my money is making money, and the gold that made up my original funds can sleep in peace. Kraus, do you know what I'm about to say? Since the moment Kraus had been summoned here, he had guessed what Kinzo was hinting at now. All things borrowed must be returned someday. That day had finally come. Yes, I understand, Father. Beatrice, I do not have many years ahead of me. In fact, this may be the last family conference that we will attend together. How faint-hearted you sound. You must be joking. Beato alone laughed. She looked at Battler, so he laughed along with her, but Kinzo and the others remained silent. Apparently, there existed some major concerns about Kinzo's health. Of course, I do not intend to die as soon as next year. However, I don't believe I can make any certain promises about meeting you again. I never make promises I cannot keep. If you say it so proudly like that, I'm in no position to disagree. Are you serious about this? Beatrice, I want to make amends, and I must do it while I'm still in high spirits. For that reason, I made a decision today. What's Grandfather talking about? Quiet. Grandfather's about to talk about something very important. By now, even Battler understood what Kinzo was about to propose. Beato probably realised it too. At one time, the Ashramaya family had ruled the skies like an eagle, before being crushed by the Great Kanto earthquake. The eagle had one of its wings torn off, and it crawled in the mud, on the point of death. Then, they were saved by the Golden Witch's golden miracle. Under the Golden Witch's protection, the eagle had nursed its wounds for many years. And now, finally, it was time for the eagle to leave the nest the witch had provided. I will return all of the gold that your grandmother lent me. Kraus, you have no objections, correct? That gold did not belong to the Ashramaya family in the first place. Of course. I have no objections whatsoever, so this is going to lead to there being nothing to argue about, right? They can't argue over the money and kill each other. You sure, Kraus? You're an investor, aren't you? You could always do with more money, right? Didn't you want Kinzo to hand the gold over to you? Yes, now that you mention it, it's hard to deny what you say. However, the contract was always between you and father, and the gold was yours to begin with. My husband is the successor, after all. Just as father rebuilt the family in 1 generation, I'm sure my husband will make the family thrive in his. And this is something that 2 of us will do together. And because Kraus is becoming certain that Kraus is going to be the head, the riddle doesn't matter, nothing matters, so it's all going to be happy, right? Well said. Yes, that's the spirit. So, letting go of 10 tons of gold leaves you with no regrets. I must say, that's quite impressive. What can a witch do against an opponent who cannot be swayed by the golden magic? I'll return the gold to you. But the Ashramaya family will always be supremely indebted to Beatrice, the Golden Witch. They would return the gold once lent by the Golden Witch. It was both simple and clear. However, the expression worn by the Golden Witch herself was slightly lonely. Angie couldn't understand why this was. After all, if you're returning it, I cannot simply say, I don't want it, take it back. Oh well. Beato rose from the sofa. Then she walked up to the window and looked down at the rose garden, waving in the wind. Kraus, I have also decided to present you and the others with my inheritance while I still live. Father. When I die, you will not only be busy with the funeral, but I imagine that you will have Eva and the others at your throats over the inheritance issue. If all's divided now, the funeral will be less trying for you. Kraus, write this down. And Genji, please be our secretary. I will now lay out the distribution of my assets. Kinzo immediately began explaining how the inheritance would be split up. Battler, realizing that he shouldn't be listening in on this conversation, walked over to where Beato was loitering by the window. Hey, rich person. If you've got too much gold on your hands, I'd be happy to lighten the load. Gold would be more useful if you turned it into firewood and used it to cook a stew. What's the matter? You're looking a bit bored. So, this day has finally come. I do feel a bit lonely. You do? My magic revived the Ashuramaia family and created Rokkenjima. And now it seems the Ashuramaia family no longer has any need for the power of my gold. It's taken flight, leaving the nest of my magic behind. True. That's how it's turned out. I've called Rokkenjima the Witch's Island. My island. Yeah, and now Rokkenjima is returning the gold to me. The day has come for Rokkenjima to awaken from my magic. That's true. I knew that this would be the last game. However, now that we've reached this point, even in a manner such as this, it's surprisingly painful. You're the type of person who looks totally carefree, but who's actually full of lingering attachments and regrets. The cruel and obstinate ones are usually the quickest to grow attached, and then to feel lonely. That's right. That's the kind of person you are. It was a game for you and me. It was fun. A great game you polished to perfection during those 6 years. I once likened it to eternal torture for the both of us. Eternity is happiest when you can still believe that it's eternal. But all things must end, and we have to be aware of that. So, we must not avert our eyes. Just as the sun always rises, there's no sun that doesn't set. Of course, Angie didn't have the slightest idea what her brother and the witch were talking about. However, even as young as she was, she could feel that the pair had spent an incredibly long time together, and that they understood each other so well that they might as well be a married couple. Then, Beto noticed her reaction. Angie. At one point, the two of us wove games for each other. However, that time is now over. This game has been made, not for our sake, but for yours. They were speaking in riddles again. Grasping the key that hung by her chest, Angie looked at her brother's face. We need to show you the contents of the cat box of this day. That key I gave you is for opening it. What do you mean by cat box? He means this day. With a miracle of magic, I brought you to the day you wanted to reach so much. You must continue telling the story of this day as the final witch. Does that mean that I mustn't remain here? Angie's tone was slightly tense. She understood what her brother meant, and it made her frown. Just how long have I suffered, wishing that I could return to the Rokkenjima of 1986? And now I finally made it here. So why are you chasing me out? You said I could decide for myself. That's right. I did say that. I'm not leaving. And please, stop trying to spoil me with this strange, made-up game. I want to know the truth of this day. She's a moody girl, be it 12 years in the future or in the past. Shut up, I didn't ask you. And what the hell do you think you're doing here? Didn't the Golden Witch come here to perform her resurrection ceremony? Didn't you appear on the island with a crash of thunder and try to offer up 13 people as sacrifices? Why are you acting so happy and casual? It doesn't make sense. You're the one that doesn't make sense. Well, it's true as well. What are you thinking? Do you want me to be a murderer? You wrote it down in a tale, sealed it in a message bottle and threw it into the sea. 2 of those were discovered later on. Both of them are stories of cruel serial murders. What a shame that only 2 of them made it to shore. How sad that land, my greatest masterpiece, was never seen by human eyes. I've been wanting to ask this for a while. What's up with those message bottles? As I was working out the details for my game against you, I began creating those tales along the way. Once I realised that I could create endless different tales out of the same game board, it really started to get fun. So you wrote them down, hoping that I'd read them someday? Precisely. They were so good, I just couldn't bear to wait for your return. Inspired by Agatha Christie, I tried sealing them in bottles and throwing them into the ocean. Mysterious, don't you think? Don't mock me. Those were your plans for the crime. You used the location of the hidden gold to fan up discontent between the family members, as you planned your brutal serial murders. Sheesh. Is that what I've become in the year 1998? Well, I guess I can't blame them. Huh? What's with the sudden change of character? Is this some scheme to make me let my guard down? I'm not going to be fooled so easily, Beatrice. Oni-chan. You want to make me surrender and say that witches exist, don't you? You think I'll fall for that? I'll find the truth without your help. Even though that truth is all around you right now. You once called yourself Gretel, but it seems the name Myrtle would be more fitting. Myrtle? Enough. Angie tried to slap Beto's cheek. However, the difference between their heights was so great that Beto dodged before the hand could reach her. Stupid Barker. I won't accept it. I'll never acknowledge this farce as the truth. After Angie yelled those words, her eyes grew cloudy. They cleared up almost immediately. By that time, she had already gone back to her 6-year-old self. You're right, Angie. This is the sin I left behind, and the reason for this final tale's existence. As Angie stared blankly, uncomprehending, Beto gently patted her head. Indeed, this tale's a farce. Of course, it isn't the truth. However, there's something that he feels he must tell you. Something he's so determined to convey that he went to such lengths. Beto, I'm already showing her. I don't want to force it on her. I see. I don't understand what you're saying. I'm sleepy. True. We should probably go take a nap. Kinzo, must I remain here longer? My apologies, but I must ask you to stay for just a bit. Moving on, Grouse. The continued support of the Fukuin house should be viewed as your responsibility as the Ashuramaia family head. What a pain. Forgive me, Battler. It seems I cannot go with you. Genji, would you mind taking these two to the guest house? As you wish. Battler-sama, Angie-sama, please follow me. Thanks. See you later, Beto. Of course. I have a mountain of things I wish to discuss with you, and I'd like to have some time alone tonight. We must act the part of a married couple every now and then. What do you mean, act the part of a married couple? Because Angie had gotten so bored, she had grown very sleepy. It would probably be best for her to take a quick nap. Battler walked through the windy rose garden, pulling her by the hand. When he questioned their guide, Genji, he learned that the old servant had known beforehand of Kinzo's desire to return the gold to Beto, and settle the inheritance problem early. The master decided to start preparations early for his final task in this world, the ending of his life. Most people don't think much about what happens after they die. Guess grandfather just lives on a whole different scale. Today marks the start of a new flight, when the Ashuramaia family will depart from the Golden Witch's patronage. It's true. That's a pretty cool way to say it. Apparently a grand Halloween party was to be held tonight, and Goda and the others had been ordered to start getting ready for it. However, it wouldn't just be a party. It would be a ceremony to mark the return of Beatrice's gold. At the start of dinner, grandfather would make the announcement, and the 3 generations of Beatrices would be thanked for their gift to the family with a round of applause. Apparently this was what they had planned. Are we still keeping this secret from Dad and the others? Technically it is a secret. However, the master did not suddenly begin thinking in this way today. He has considered this day many times over many years, and has even discussed certain matters with his children. I doubt that any will be surprised to hear this night's announcement. Apparently my old bastard's been running all over the place trying to get money for his company. I guess he'll be dancing around when he hears that grandfather's given him his part of the inheritance early. A nice present for him. I'd rather think the great responsibility is what will spur him on. Ever since Rudolf-sama left the island, he succeeded splendidly. However, his success so far has been supported by the master's wealth. And now that he's suddenly getting his inheritance money, he'll have to keep going by his own strength alone in the future. That's some nice pressure for him. The siblings must have suffered for decades because of their father's excess of success and ability. Simply having a parent who is too successful can be a great burden to a child. And tonight, they'll be leaving the nest, truly becoming adults for the first time. Seems the master plans to call this night a gold returning ceremony. However, he originally intended to call it a living funeral. Sounds pretty depressing, having a funeral while you're still alive. I'll admit that calling it a day to start a new journey and leave the nest fits the Ashuramaia family much better. Oni-chan, I'm sleepy. Look, we're almost to the guest house. Do you want to go to Mom's room? Or to the cousin room? I don't care. I don't care. I'll sleep until dinner. Bye. Angie, still holding her brother's hand, crouched down and looked as though she was about to fall asleep. Battler lifted her up and carried her. As she felt the warmth and safety of her brother's back, Angie drifted off into sleep. What happened that day? Just what on earth happened on October 4th and 5th, 1986? Because of the massive size of the Rokkenjima explosion accident, the time of the explosion was known almost exactly down to the minute. That time was October 5th, midnight. The sheer improbability of that round number proved that the accident had been produced by artificial means. Later on, the following statements were collected from individuals who knew Ashuramaye Kinzo when he was alive. During his lifetime, Ashuramaye Kinzo built a clock rigged to blow up the island at exactly midnight. We saw this in the 7th arc. This clock was apparently inside his secret study. When he felt mentally cornered and wanted to think up a brilliant plan, he would activate the device and use the tension of the approaching midnight to bring some flash of inspiration to him. While Ashuramaye Kinzo still lived, this was only thought of as a tall tale about this eccentric man. But the fact that the Rokkenjima explosion accident occurred at exactly midnight supported the story. It sounds crazy. Oh, hello. You must have hoped to gain some sort of mystical power from those short periods of madness. If you call this his source of high output mental power, the story isn't that difficult to swallow. Professor Utsuki spoke passionately. Witch hunters, enthusiasts who treat the mad fantasy surrounding Rokkenjima as their plaything. Angie had no reason to love these people who embellished the deaths of her family just for the fun of it. How ironic it was to Angie, who wanted to know what happened that day, that such people knew more about the island than anyone else. If someone used that device, the island would be blown away without a trace. There would be nothing left. No matter what had happened there, they could erase it. Theories that Ashuramaye Eva was the ringleader of some conspiracy sprang up very early on. However, no one was able to explain how she set off such a massive explosion, and the rigged clock proves that such a thing was possible. Correct. We can theorize that Ashuramaye Eva, fully aware of the timing and expected radius of the explosion, took refuge in Kouadorian. To get all the family wealth to herself, she killed everyone and used the explosion to remove all evidence. That idea provides the most logical explanation for the Rokkenjima mystery. It also conforms with the fact that Eva never spoke to anyone about the events of that day. Where was that rigged clock, and how did Eva find it? Several forgeries have speculated on this matter. There's no need for me to waste time thinking about it. Eva activated the clock device, hid in Kouadorian to escape the blast, and was therefore the only one to survive. That was everything, the answer, which eloquently told the whole story. When Eva first adopted me, our relationship wasn't that bad at all. I asked her several times, what happened that day? Every single time she answered, it was to say that she didn't remember. But well, she must have been flustered at the time. The very first time I asked, she answered like this. I can't tell you about it. It was a slip of the tongue. She knew what had happened that day, and she left this world without telling even a bit of the truth. She sealed the truth in a cat box, and left this world, taking the key with her. There can be only one answer. She was behind everything. She got to keep all the family wealth to herself and became super rich. And afterward, she lamented the fact that her beloved son would never inherit any of what she had created, and she cursed me. Just remembering that old bitch makes me want to vomit. What happened that day? That's what I want to know. It's my only goal, the one reason I'm still alive. However, later on, I had to come to grips with the fact that my goal was an abstract one. After all, though I don't know what happened that day, if it's a question of who did the crime, that's already clear. Ashuramaye Eva. She's the culprit. That has never changed since the beginning. That's right. I'm not trying to find out what happened that day. I'm trying to find out what Ashuramaye Eva did that day. If I can reveal that, then I can expose Eva's evil even though she's already dead. That's my true goal. The police also suspected that the accident might be a crime, and they did investigate. However, no matter how much they inspected the crater that had once been Rokkenjima, they didn't find anything at all. The public and the witch hunters cornered Eva with several bits of circumstantial evidence, but not a single bit of physical evidence was found. Though Eva was only the merest fraction of a shade away from guilty, they were unable to expose her crime. My goal isn't anything as vague as learning what happened that day. It's to expose the crime Ashuramaye Eva committed that day, and to have my revenge. I haven't been able to expose Ashuramaye Eva's crime, so people are acting as though the events on the island were all done by some bizarre gold witch. Defeating the Golden Witch means exposing Ashramaya Eva's sin. I won't forgive Eva. I'll certainly hate her and take revenge for my family. That's Ashramaya Angie's one and only reason for living. Ha! If she knew you hated her that much, the President would probably be rolling around laughing in the next world. Shut up. I'll expose that old bitch's crime. I won't accept that it was a perfect crime, with all traces blown away. I'll never do that. In other words, this journey of yours is a journey to take revenge for your family. Got a problem with that? You must be joking. It's great to know that you have a purpose in life. Could you turn that off? Hmm? You don't like Mzaki? Is that referencing an actual musician? Amakusa turned the radio off. The dull sound of the engine became the BGM that filled the car. Is it really so strange? Fighting for revenge? Not really. Out on the front I met people who live for that reason over and over. You've been on battlefields many times as a mercenary, right? Well, I've seen a few. So are people who fight to take revenge for their families. Strong? No doubt about it. Some people even strap bombs to themselves and commit suicide to take revenge for their families. Humans are more than capable of dying for vengeance. That's right. I could do it too. Have you heard of child soldiers? You mean kids who fight like soldiers? That's it. Kids who've lost their parents and have nowhere to go sometimes get picked up by groups of armed insurgents and become soldiers. They get a gun thrust in their hands and they're taught how to take revenge. But in the end, children are expendable. Anyone can be a soldier in a battlefield if they can pull a trigger. You trying to say that I'm like that? Revenge can be a reason for living. It can also give you the strength to become a soldier. Like a miracle, it can turn a girl who could do nothing but sob over her parents' corpses into a soldier almost overnight. Nothing gives you more power than revenge. I guess so. And that's what I'm like. Do you know about the child soldier problem? No. Child soldiers who are given guns and taught how to take revenge make that their reason for living. Well, that's not exactly right. It becomes their reason for firing their guns. But revenge is something that never ends. At some point, they no longer have any reason to keep shooting. What do you mean? They once shot for revenge, but eventually they keep on shooting for no reason at all. You mean they forget about taking revenge? When revenge is impossible, they eventually get tired of it and forget their original goals. When that happens, they have nothing except their guns. Eventually, they'll keep shooting just so they can eat. You're saying that child soldiers who started using guns for revenge end up as bandits or something? After all, they've never even gone to school, and they haven't been taught any useful skills as far as employment goes. They only learned how to shoot guns, and they were only ever praised when they killed the enemy. Eventually, your reason for living stops being revenge, and becomes the means you once used to take revenge. It's sad, really. You're saying that I'll eventually get tired of revenge, and what would it be in my case? You'll get tired of exposing the truth, and you'll eventually become a person who can do nothing but hate Ashramaya Eva. Well, that's true already. Got a problem with it? Come to think of it, that's right. I'm not sure what Amakusa is trying to say. Probably something annoying. I'm not interested. Revenge is pointless. Is that what you're trying to say? You still have a long life ahead of you, lady. With your youth, you could do anything. I get the feeling that this journey might be a waste of that precious youth. It's none of your business. I've already jumped once, remember? Off that huge skyscraper. And you only barely made it out of that alive. Back then, I died. So I'm already a ghost. And my only purpose is to expose the truth of that day, to take revenge on my family's enemy. Sheesh, that's an iron will you've got there, lady. There's no way a flippant man like you could understand how I feel. After that, Amakusa was forced to shut his mouth. He shrugged, but Angie didn't see. Even so, Amakusa spoke once more. On the first day we started this journey, you said something. You said you wanted to know what happened on that island that day. It's the same now. What's changed? Now you're saying that you want to know what happened on that island that day so you can expose Eva's crime. And isn't that exactly the same? That's true, but I'm tired, so I'll sleep now. Would you mind staying quiet for a bit? Tell me when we get there. Roger that. I wasn't particularly tired, really. I just said that because I didn't like talking about this. Don't become one. A child soldier. Angie, who had decided to feign sleep, ignored him. But Amakusa kept talking. He wanted to make sure she heard at least that much. You started on a journey to learn the truth. It's becoming more and more a journey of revenge. A journey to have revenge by exposing the truth. But as you know, there's nothing left in Wakanjima. There aren't even any traces left. Exposing the truth might not be a picnic. I know what Amakusa is trying to say. The police searched the scene so thoroughly just after the crime, and even they weren't able to find any physical evidence proving that Eva was the culprit. And a full 12 years have passed since then. If the truth could be discovered by a girl like me, waving wads of cash around to pick up a bit of info from those who were somehow related to the incident, then someone would have exposed the truth long ago. I might not be able to reach the truth. If so, my desire to expose the truth, will probably fade away. After that, only my hatred for Eva will remain, just like those child soldiers who forget their original purpose and live just to shoot. I'll forget my original purpose and live just to hate. I'll do nothing but despise Ashuramaya Eva, but my goal, exposing the truth for revenge, will be gone. So hating Eva will become my whole life. Is there any difference between shooting for revenge and shooting to live? When you pull the trigger, someone dies either way. What about my case? Is there any difference between hating Eva as I expose the truth and hating Eva after I've given up? There's no difference. In the end, whether I find the truth or not, I'll just keep on cursing Eva over and over until I die. What a crappy life. But now, that's all I have left. Ashuramaya Eva stole my family, so I'll take revenge by exposing her crimes and showing the world. My consciousness was slowly drifting away into sleep. She's getting tired in that world as well. Timeline. Why is Oni-chan showing me such a bizarre Wakanjima? Is this supposed to be the truth? Enough with this farce. Why is even Oni-chan trying to hide the truth from me? I'm trying to find it so I can avenge him and the others. Or would Oni-chan say the same thing as Amakusa? That revenge is meaningless, so I should stop. Is that why he's speaking in riddles, trying to make everything more confusing? That's none of his business. I'm not just trying to take revenge for their sakes. I'm doing it for my sake too. After all, that's the only reason I'm still alive. Taking revenge is my reason to live. I don't have a clue what Oni-chan is thinking. Okay, so it's just explained. The inheritance thing was the main thing to take out of that episode, I think. As well as obviously seeing that Angie has revenge on her mind. But I always suspected it was something to do with her. I mean, she's too fierce for it not to be revenge and have a big meaning like that. Yeah. So anyway, that'll do it for today. This has been Greeny XI. Hope you've enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again in a bit when we head back to the mansion. Ooh, the rain started. Thanks again for watching, folks. See you again in a bit.